Man, before everything went haywire and I ended up in that courtroom with my whole world teetering on the edge, life felt a lot steadier, even if it was just the comfort of routine holding it together. Back in the day, things were simpler in Asheville, North Carolina, a small town that never screamed adventure but always gave me a sense of solid ground, even if that ground was built on habit and a bit of naive trust. Growing up, me and my buddy Travis had a bond forged in the kind of dumb, wild stunts only teenagers pull. He wasn't always the buttoned-up pastor type back then, just a kid trying to dodge his dad's sky-high standards. I can still picture that night we snuck into old man Carver's junkyard, dead set on jump-starting a rusty Chevy just to prove we could. We botched it big time, nearly got torn apart by Carver's hound, and ended up crouched in a ditch, laughing so hard we could barely breathe. That was Travis, cautious but game, always a half-step behind me but never too scared to tag along. Things started changing when he met Leela at that theology school out in Montana. His letters, yeah, Travis was old school like that, started reading more like church pamphlets than the updates I was used to. He ditched cussing, started saying grace before every meal, and swapped our Friday night whiskey runs for late night talks about scripture. I figured it was just a weird phase, that he'd eventually chill out and we'd go back to being two knuckleheads who always had each other's backs. But when he rolled back into Asheville with Leela, ready to live the holy life as a man of faith, it hit me. I'd lost my best friend to something I couldn't touch, his newfound sense of virtue. Mr. Dalton, one more word and I'll slap you with contempt. The judge's face was practically glowing red, her scowl so over the top I had to bite my cheek to keep from cracking up. Mr. Hayes, rein in your client, she barked, clearly fed up. I'd heard that line before, but when cussing flows as easy as talking and the person running the show seems like a clown, keeping my mouth shut ain't exactly second nature. Folks say I swear more than anyone they've ever met, and they might not be wrong. It's not like I plan it, it just spills out. Before I could toss back a reply, my lawyer, Vernon Hayes, who, if things went right, would soon be my business partner at his law firm, shot me a glare that screamed, "Zip it or you're sleeping in a cell tonight." Even the court stenographer was fighting a smirk, probably bracing for me to unleash a string of curses that'd echo through the room. 3 people sat there, avoiding my eyes. Travis, my former best friend, looked drained, like life had wrung him out. My soon-to-be ex-wife, Meredith, wore her shame like a heavy coat. And Leela, Travis's wife, was practically vibrating with rage, probably because every dirty detail of their mess was now out in the open for all to see. How'd I end up here, getting chewed out by a judge I could barely take seriously, surrounded by folks I used to trust? Let's back it up. I'm Nate Dalton, 32, a crew chief for the city maintenance department in Asheville, North Carolina. Took the gig right after high school and never left town. Winters for plowing snow off the roads, summers for fixing whatever's broken. Meredith, when she's not playing the part of perfect church lady, puts in a few hours at the local parish, mostly, I think, to dodge chores at home. Our department's split into 4 zones, each with a supervisor and a crew chief like me. I never had my sights set on a supervisor, too much politics. No college degree, and even if I had one, I wouldn't grovel to climb the ladder. That Monday night, a nasty summer storm ripped through town, leaving chaos in its wake, downed branches, scattered junk, flooded streets. I had 6 crews hauling debris with dump trucks, 2 vac trucks clearing storm drains, and 4 street sweepers running nonstop. By afternoon, I was checking back alleys, knowing the grass would have to wait. Meredith and I lived in a solid 3-bedroom house in a quiet, older neighborhood, not fancy, but far from rough. We had good folks around us, Hank and Ellie Pritchard next door, Greg and Marla out back, and Travis and Leela right behind them. Travis and I went way back to grade school, we were so tight we never bothered with fences. I got him into more trouble than he could handle growing up, and his super religious folks couldn't stand me for it. Didn't bother me much. He ended up a pastor, I ended up dodging church like the plague. Meredith, though, never missed a Sunday. Travis met Leela at that theology school, she was drop-dead gorgeous but devoted to faith in a way that made her seem untouchable. He was my opposite in every way, but I'd have gone to bat for him any day. Or so I thought. Tuesday night, I dragged myself home, beat from the day, ready to heat up some leftover chili from Sunday. Meredith hadn't cooked anything fresh in ages, not that I was complaining too loud. I thought about cracking a 6-pack, but a circled date on the calendar stopped me, emergency standby. 1 beer with dinner, that's the rule. Meredith was in the shower while I ate, as distant as ever. Our marriage had fizzled into forced chit-chat and the occasional half-hearted Saturday night routine, nothing spicy, just the basics. I'd mentally checked out months ago. By 9:30 p.m., I was thinking about crashing early when my phone lit up. Figured it was Travis, probably wanting to gripe about the Braves' latest loss or rope me into some church errand. Nope. City Dispatch. Water main break near Willow Creek Plaza. I grabbed my gear, thought about telling Meredith, then figured she wouldn't care where I was anyway. At the yard, I loaded a dump truck, hitched up a backhoe, and met my crew, guys from every zone, plus a water supervisor and his team. When we got there, the street was a swamp, so we called an evac truck to suck up the mess. By 1 a.m., I'd busted open the pavement. By 3, the pipe was out in the open. By 10 o'clock, the fix was done. By noon, we were ready to repave. I got everything back to the yard by 1:30 p.m., wiped out but proud of the work. At 2 o'clock, I pulled into my driveway, finally off the clock until Friday. The house was dead quiet. Meredith was out doing whatever it was she did all day, definitely not scrubbing floors or washing dishes. I snagged a beer from the fridge, slapped together a ham sandwich, and then I heard it, loud, unmistakable groaning, like something straight out of a bad movie. My hand froze on the bottle, gripping it so tight I thought it might crack. The noise was coming from upstairs. "So that's why you've been acting like I don't exist," I muttered, my jaw clenched. I reached into the hall closet, my fingers wrapping around my Ruger .45. Heart pounding like a drum, I eased up the stairs. The master bedroom? Empty. The bathroom? Nothing. 2 doors left. The guest room was closed. Guess she had enough sense not to defile our bed. I kicked the door open, gun ready, but it was a ghost town. One option left, her so-called art studio. I steeled myself, picturing some sleazy guy behind her, hands all over her. My grip on the Ruger tightened as I booted the door open. Empty. But the noise was so loud it rattled my skull. Then I noticed the open window. I stepped closer, half expecting to catch Meredith tangled up with some deadbeat in our backyard. What I saw was worse. Hank and Ellie Pritchard, brother and sister, going at it like they didn't share DNA, right by their hot tub. My stomach twisted into knots. Ellie'd had a thing for me since she was a kid, now in college and definitely filled out, but that didn't make this any less disgusting. I wanted to look away, but my eyes were glued. Then I caught movement in a window across the yard. I followed Ellie's stare. Travis, buck naked, on top of someone who sure as hell wasn't Leela. It was Meredith, my wife. The truth slammed into me like a freight train. Holy hell! I roared. Everything froze. Hank and Ellie scrambled inside, still bare, their shame barely a blip on my radar. I spun back to Travis's window, my gun shaking in my hand, but it was empty now. "You cheating scum!" I bellowed, my voice cracking with fury as I stormed downstairs. In the living room, I grabbed my Remington shotgun and loaded it with a double-aught buckshot. Travis was a dead man. Meredith was history. Hell, even Lila's dog and goldfish weren't safe. I charged toward the door, ready to blast it down and turn them both into confetti. But halfway down the driveway, I stopped, chest heaving, the shotgun heavy in my hands. It all clicked, the messy house, the endless microwave dinners, the cold shoulder, those long-ass showers. It made sense now. I climbed into my truck, slammed the door, and peeled out, heading for a hardware store in Raleigh. My thoughts were a wildfire, each one burning hotter than the last. She didn't cook because Travis was wearing her out. She didn't clean because she was too busy playing house with him. But why? Why torch our life together? At the store, I grabbed 3 new lock sets, barely noticing the familiar faces. Tammy from the lumber section gave me a wave, but I just nodded, too pissed for chit-chat. Back home, I spotted Hank and Ellie lurking near my driveway, looking like teenagers caught sneaking booze. Ellie tried a shaky smile. "Mr. Dalton, we didn't mean for you to," I cut her off with a glare that could have melted steel. "I don't give a damn what you two do. Screw each other until the cows come home, it's not my problem." They scurried off, though Ellie shot a quick glance at my belt before vanishing inside. I tossed the locks on the counter, grabbed my toolbox, and headed for the front door to start swapping them out. But the second I stepped into the kitchen, my blood ran cold. Travis, sitting at my table, cool as a cucumber. "What the hell are you doing in my house?" I growled. His face was way too calm. I came to talk, as a friend. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. A friend? You mean the kind who bangs my wife behind my back? Nate, let's not make this uglier than it is, he said. Oh, you're right about that. I slid a chef's knife across the table toward him. Pick it up. His face went ghost white. Come on, Travis. You're always preaching about faith, how about you go meet your maker? His eyes flicked between me and the knife before he bolted for the door. On the porch, he turned back. We've been through too much, man. You really gonna throw our friendship away over this? I gritted my teeth, my hand twitching toward the Ruger at my hip. I lost 2 people today, but the more I think about it, the less it stings. He shifted, uneasy. Meredith's too scared to come over. You've got 5 minutes if you want her to have a shot at fixing this. He nodded once and hightailed it. Sure enough, 4 minutes later, I heard soft sobs outside. Meredith shuffled up the walkway, eyes swollen, face streaked with tears. She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. Don't even think about it. Her lip quivered. Nate, I love you. I don't want anyone else. I let out a dry chuckle. Funny way of proving it. Let's take this inside, no need to put on a show for the neighbors. She trailed me in and perched on the couch, hands clasped like she was begging for a miracle. Can you sit with me? She asked. Not a chance. I wasn't here for theatrics, so I got to the point. How long's this been going on? She hesitated. Nate, he's just a friend. Friends don't sleep with each other's wives, I snapped. It's just. I still love you, she whispered. I scoffed. Yeah, and I love pizza, but if it makes me puke, I'm not eating it again. There's no reason to be mad, she pleaded. You still have me. No, I said, flat. I had you. You threw that away. Her voice shook. We can still be together. She glanced at the clock, hesitating. Keep sleeping with Travis? I blinked, stunned. He says I can still take care of your needs a couple times a week. I stared, trying to process the insanity I'd just heard, then let out a hollow laugh. Well, ain't that generous of you. But I think I'll find someone else to handle my needs. Meredith's eyes narrowed, a spark of defiance in them. No, you're mine, Nate. No one else gets to have you. I shook my head, my patience fraying like an old rope. Not for much longer. Ex-wife has a nice ring to it. Her voice cracked, pleading. Don't say that. I love you, and Travis too, but only for, physical stuff. You just need to get it. Oh, I get it, I snapped. You want it all, me for the steady paycheck, him for the thrills. She shook her head, desperate. It's not like that. Then spell it out for me, I demanded. She glanced at the clock, nervous. Travis wants me back in 3 minutes. My jaw locked tight. You hear yourself? You sound like you've lost your damn mind. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You've never talked to me like this. What's wrong with you? I laughed, cold and sharp. Maybe it's the fact I worked a 36-hour shift, dragged myself home beat, and caught my wife in bed with my best friend. She let out a shaky sob, backing toward the door. That's it, I said, my voice flat as a board. Go to him. Go chase what you really want. She hesitated, her voice small. I don't see why we can't just keep things like they are. You're always working. I can be with him when you're gone, and we'll still have our nights together. I slammed the door so hard the windows rattled. Screw you, Meredith. Go eat your cake and choke on it. I stood there, chest heaving, pulse hammering, but I wasn't about to wallow in pity. I swapped out every lock, reset the garage code, and by 4 a.m., exhaustion finally won. I crashed on the couch, flipped on the TV, some trashy talk show, go figure, and let out a dry chuckle before sleep pulled me under. When I woke, it was past 9, and someone was banging on the door. I yanked it open, ready to rip into Meredith, but it was Travis. I sighed, heavy. What the hell do you want? I need a favor, he said, like it was nothing. I crossed my arms, leaning against the frame. Well, ain't that rich? I haven't even found a new girlfriend for you to mess with yet, pal. Try someone else. He shifted, uneasy. It's Meredith. She's over there crying. Can't you just call her, tell her you're not pissed? I scoffed, stepping closer. She's your problem now, lover boy. You deal with her. I'm done. He hesitated. Leela knows. She's actually okay with it. At least now we don't have to sneak around. But she thinks you and Meredith should stay married. I leaned in, voice low and sharp. Get off my porch. Tell Meredith her stuff will be on the curb by morning. And if I hear one more knock, you'll regret it. I slammed the door in his face and grabbed a beer. For some reason, I hauled a six-pack up to Meredith's old art studio, plopped into a chair by the window, and stared across the yard at Travis's place. Then it hit me, I needed proof for the divorce. I grabbed my old camcorder and waited. Movement next door caught my eye. Ellie Pritchard by the hot tub, wearing a robe. I prayed she had something on underneath. No such luck. She dropped the robe and dove in. I groaned, looking away. Then I spotted Leela and Meredith on Travis's porch, whispering like they were plotting something. Headlights flashed. Hank was home from his shift at the diner. He strolled to the hot tub, peeling off his shirt. I rubbed my face, muttering, what did I do to deserve this day? I tried to focus on Travis's house, but a loud splash snapped me back. Hank had jumped in, resurfacing next to Ellie. They drifted close, arms tangled, their voices carrying through the night. How was work? Ellie asked, casual as anything. Total mess, Hank sighed. Had to fire Carlos. Caught him sneaking a joint on break. Ellie hummed. You warned him. Yeah, Hank admitted, but it still sucks. He switched gears. Heard something wild today, though. Ellie perked up. Spill. Nate kicked Meredith out, Hank said. What? Ellie's voice sharpened, genuinely shocked. Yeah, Hank went on. Hank and Ellie saw Travis and Meredith messing around right through his window. Nate must have walked in on them, lost it, stormed off, came back with a bag from the hardware store, and changed the locks. When Meredith showed up, he slammed the door in her face and called her out. Ellie let out a low whistle. Unreal. I should check on Nate. Hank's voice dropped. Honestly, I'd steer clear of Travis if I were you. Something about how he eyes you and Meredith always gave me the creeps. A shiver ran through me. Sick bastard. Hank kept talking. Ellie's bringing Nate a pie tomorrow. She's got a soft spot for him, says he's rough but solid. I saw him working near the plaza today, hard hat and all. Ellie laughed. You know I've got a thing for guys in tool belts. Maybe I should get Nate to model for me. I cringed. For years, I'd wondered if Hank and Ellie were more than siblings. Now I really didn't want the answer. You're awful, Hank teased. I just don't get why Meredith picked Travis over Nate. Ellie smirked. Careful, you're sounding jealous. Hank's voice softened. You know you're my only one. That was my cue to bail before things got weirder. Sleep wasn't happening, but at least I could dodge the mental image of Hank and Ellie getting cozy. I flicked on the radio, some late-night metal station, a growling track from Slayer blasting through. Rain and blood. Make them pay, I muttered, my fist tightening. Then louder, I'll make them pay. The next morning, a loud knock jerked me awake. I swung the door open, ready to unload on Meredith, but it was Leela Harris. I sighed. Oh, it's you. If you're here for Meredith's stuff, it ain't packed yet. Her face was tight, almost pained. Nate, let her come back. I let out a bitter laugh. And here I thought you were gonna ask for something that made sense. I moved to shut the door, but she jammed her hand in. Nate, why are you doing this? You're hurting her. I crossed my arms, staring Leela down. Meredith made her choice. I'm out. Lila's face tightened. She can't stay with us. We've got a reputation to maintain. I let out a sharp laugh. Maybe you should have thought about that before you and Travis cooked up whatever sick little deal you've got going. Her eyes narrowed. Why can't she just stay here? I snorted, incredulous. You serious? She picked Travis over me, and the kicker, you don't even give a damn. Leela pressed, her voice softer. She still loves you, Nate. We all do. My jaw clenched. Travis is dead to me. So's she. You don't mean that, she said. I smirked, cold. Oh, I mean every word. Lila's breath hitched. She's still willing to take care of you, you know. I clapped my hands, mocking. Let me get this straight. I pay the bills, she keeps messing around with you too, and I get a half-assed pity session once a week? Meanwhile, Travis gets his little fantasy, and I'm stuck with the tab? I stepped closer, dripping sarcasm. Or do I at least get some quality time with you? She scoffed. Sorry, Nate, I'm a one-man woman. I chuckled, dry. Man, I'd love to meet one of those. Guess I'll have to track her down myself. I pointed to the curb. Tell Meredith her stuff's out there in an hour. Lila's expression darkened. Stop acting like a Neanderthal. Travis and I have images to protect. I grinned. Sounds like your problem. I slammed the door and headed to the kitchen. Pancakes sounded better than bacon, screw their reputation. They really thought I'd just roll over and eat this garbage? Not a chance. Make them play looped in my head like a bad song. I grabbed my phone and called a buddy from work whose divorce was straight up ugly. His wife had been way too close with her cousin, a real talk show level mess. He gave me the number for a law firm that made sure guys didn't get hosed: Hartley, Vance, and Reed. By noon, I had an appointment. While I waited, I packed Meredith's junk, dumped it on the porch, and slid her car keys under the mat. No reason for her to come knocking. Then I hit the bank, canceled the joint credit cards, closed our shared account, and opened one in my name. The teller mentioned Meredith had a separate card. No problem, I had the bill rerouted to Travis's address. At 1:30 p.m., I walked into the law office, hoping for Victor Hartley, a legend for shredding opposing counsel. Instead, I got Vernon Hayes, a scruffy guy who looked like he hadn't shaved since the 90s, but his track record was flawless. He scanned my documents, called in his assistant, and barked orders. She returned with a fat stack of paperwork. Vernon leaned back, smirking. Mr. Dalton, I think we can get you everything you want and knock that preacher down a few pegs while we're at it. My eyes sharpened. Got any photos or videos? I shook my head. No, but the neighbor kid saw them. I just want her gone. Flipping through the files, Vernon nodded. That'll do. We'll move quickly. He explained the paperwork, handed me a checklist. I'd already handled most of it, and after paying his retainer, I headed home to crash. When I got back, Meredith's stuff was gone. A note was taped to the door. I peeled it off, went inside, and sprawled on the couch. Some reality show was blaring, perfect. The note was exactly what I figured, Meredith begging to come back, no mention of ditching Travis. Vernon and I had agreed to serve her and Travis at church on Sunday. The thought was too juicy to pass up. I decided to show up just to watch the fireworks. My answering machine was flashing like crazy, over 60 messages. I deleted them all. That night, after a couple beers, I slept like a log. Next morning, I set out to bury Travis. I called city accounting. My crew had hauled free dirt to his church, and I had the receipts to prove it. Marla promised the bill would be marked unpaid. Travis was about to get a collection call for $7,000. Then I casually asked the water department head if Travis's church had a compliant meter. Nope. That meant a $1,500 replacement fee. Travis had no clue how much I covered for him before. That was over. Make them pay. I was gonna bankrupt the creep. By noon, my phone rang. What the hell are you pulling, Nate? Travis snarled. I kept my voice calm. No idea what you're talking about. The inspector says I gotta tear up my whole parking lot. You said it was fine. I smirked. Oops, must have forgot some paperwork. Don't worry, I'll get a slap on the wrist. Right then, my supervisor strolled into my office, already knowing who was on the line. He leaned on my desk, grinning. Nate, about that missing paperwork, remind me to stick a nasty note in your file. I laughed. Gonna need a reminder for that reminder. Just don't do it again, he said, loud enough for Travis to hear. Travis practically hissed. Oh, some punishment. They didn't even dock you a dime. I leaned back, still grinning. Yeah, but they did process my receipts, so expect a bill. He hung up. The rest of my day was quiet until I hit Rusty's Tavern for a few beers. Rusty's was the go-to spot for city workers and cops, and by 11, half the place had heard my story, either from me or someone else. Just like that, a full-on vendetta was born. One of my cop buddies joked Travis might start getting pulled over a lot. A firefighter pal decided Travis's church was due for a safety inspection. These places always have violations, he said. We usually let it slide, but Carl's gonna protect the flock. Carla from the county clerk's office smirked. Wouldn't shock me if Travis's property taxes suddenly show a past due balance. Make them pay. By Saturday morning, I was in my garage, tinkering with an old bookshelf. My backyard was no sanctuary. Between the half-dressed weirdos next door and the shady nonsense behind me, it was anything but calm. I was sanding the wood when I felt eyes on me. I knew who it was, Meredith. I turned, ready to tell her to beat it, but it was Ellie instead. Hey, Mr. Dalton, she said, her voice sugary. What do you want, Ellie? She handed me a flash drive, her fingers lingering a bit too long. I forced my eyes to her face, away from her barely there outfit. I recorded something last week. Thought it might help your case. I'll take a look, I said. She turned to leave but glanced back, her expression unreadable. Happy to help, Nate. Have a good one. I frowned. She'd never called me anything but Mr. Dalton before. I pocketed the drive, finished mowing the lawn, and heard Meredith crying from Travis's deck the whole time. I half hoped Hank and Ellie would call the cops. Instead, their family ducked inside, dodging the drama. By 5:30 p.m., I was done. I was chowing down on some killer brisket at Hank's smokehouse when Curtis Langley, Lila's brother, walked in. He was a planner with the county roads crew, and we'd collaborated plenty, but I wasn't sure where he stood in this mess. I kept my eyes on my plate, hoping to blend into the background, but after grabbing his takeout order, Curtis paused at my table. Nate, he said. I looked up. Curtis, been a minute. He sighed, weary. Work's been nuts. We fix one road after a storm, and 3 more get wrecked. Yeah, I said, we're taking bids next week for the Carver Avenue overpass. Your team might score some hours. That'd be solid, Curtis admitted. Got a dozen culverts clogged and 2 busted water lines to deal with. We shot the breeze for a bit before he cut to the chase. Heard my brother-in-law's church has some major runoff problems, he said, his tone casual but sharp. I grinned. Sounds pricey. Curtis clapped my shoulder. Glad someone's finally making that sleaze pay. Remind me not to get on your bad side. He grabbed his food and left. I finished my meal, swung by Petro's Liquor for rumors of Nate's plan to hit the sack early. He'd had enough of the city's drama, but the bed was calling his name. The USB stick Ellie handed him was burning a hole in his pocket, so he plugged it into his laptop. The screen lit up with Ellie leaning out her window, getting way too personal with herself. Nate winced. Then he heard his lawnmower in the background. She'd been watching him mow while doing that. Jesus, he muttered. Hank strolled in, smirking. Yo, are you Nate the Rake? Nate nearly gagged. Ellie moaned, I'm yours, Hank. Do I like you mean it? He fast-forwarded, enough of their warped nonsense. Then he saw why she gave him the drive. Hank had zoomed in on Travis, Meredith, and Leela in a compromising tangle on their deck, 60 yards from Nate's house, right under his nose. Proof. He made a call. That video was about to serve a bigger purpose before court. Make them pay. For the first time in years, I was up early on a Sunday, hyped for church. Coffee, toast, and I was off to Oak Ridge Community Church. I got there 15 minutes early, spotting 3 other guys in the parking lot who, like me, weren't regulars. Inside, I slipped into the 4th pew, just another nobody. I caught the eye of Wesley Tatum, the church's tech guy. He worked on my street crew and owed me a solid. I checked the program. The perfect moment would hit right after the collection. The choir filed in, Leela and Meredith strolled in together, oblivious, with Travis trailing, preaching about mercy. I nearly snorted. He knew I was here. Funny how he skipped the part about not cheating. We sang a couple hymns, then the offering baskets went around, landing with Wesley. He'd tally the cash while Travis preached, so the treasurer could deposit it later. Then it was go time. Travis stood at the podium, welcoming new faces, inviting visitors to introduce themselves. My 3 guys stood and walked up. A kid next to me nudged my arm. You knew too, mister? His mom swatted his head. I chuckled. Travis grinned, shaking hands with my crew. A young blonde went first. I'm here for Leela Harris. Leela frowned, stepping forward. Next, a lanky guy with glasses grabbed the mic. I'm here for Meredith Dalton. Meredith hesitated, then joined Leela. Then Corey Vance, the boss's kid, took the mic. Travis Harris, Leela Harris, Meredith Dalton, you've been served. They slapped legal papers into their hands. Travis's face went beet red. He snatched the mic back. Why have you desecrated my church? Right on cue, Wesley hit play. The projector flared to life, showing Travis, Leela, and Meredith, buck naked on their deck. Gasps ripped through the crowd. At least 6 seniors fumbled for their flip phones. Cops were on the way. Then, out of nowhere, an old lady shuffled up and whacked Travis in the groin with her walker. Pure chaos. Meredith screamed, spotted me, and charged. Travis, still doubled over, wasn't going anywhere, not even if a tank rolled in. I bolted for the exit, only to slam into a cop. A few days later, after the DA dropped any charges against me, Travis put up a privacy fence, mandated by his shiny new restraining order. I couldn't go within 100 feet of his church unless it was city business, but the order also barred him and Meredith from bothering me except through my lawyer, Vernon Hayes. When I told Dana Corso, our deputy DA, how I'd slipped the USB into the offering basket for Wesley to find, she cracked up. Travis had screamed about trespassing, but the church was public property, no case. Wesley got canned but scored a better gig at the Methodist church across town. Travis, probably trying to dodge more headlines, didn't push it. 2 days later, Vernon called. We're in front of Judge Carla Moreno in 2 weeks, he said. She's tough, leans toward wives, but since you own the house, she can't hit you too hard. What about alimony? I asked. That's the rub. She almost always awards it, even to cheaters. Work was smooth. My boss, fresh out of grad school, was sharp enough to leave me be. 2 other zone supervisors were solid, they didn't hover, just worked with their crews. Then there was Floyd Dempsey. Floyd was the worst zone supervisor, didn't trust his leads, never helped his team, the kind of guy you'd cross the street to avoid. Most folks said they'd rather shave their legs with a rusty knife than deal with him. Some swore he had dirt on a councilman, others bet he was the mayor's secret fling, the only reasons he still had a job. Lucky me, today was my day. Floyd sauntered into my office, plopping into a chair. So, Nate, word is you're getting divorced, he sneered. She caught you fooling with the dog? I wasn't about to spill the truth to this creep. Nah, I said, leaning back. Just got sick of her drama. Floyd smirked. Got a judge yet? Yeah, Moreno, I replied. He snorted. That old bat? She hosed my buddy, gave his ex the house, the kids, and a fat check. Now Tim's paying for both. I sighed. Floyd never thought before opening his mouth, and in one sentence, he'd managed to sling insults that'd make anyone flinch. I wondered if he ever ran his mouth like that around Reggie Holt, his crew chief. Reggie was 65, 250 pounds of former Steelers lineman, built like he'd snap you in half for sneezing wrong. But get a few beers in him, and he was a laughing riot. One night at Rusty's Tavern, Reggie decided to mess with some college punks. Every time one headed to the John, Reggie followed, arms crossed, staring them down. They all bailed without taking a leak. Gus, the hulking bartender, finally told him to quit spooking the kids and comped us a pitcher for the show. Yeah, Reggie was a character, but I bet he wouldn't find Floyd's trash talk amusing. Lucky for me, Reggie saved my ass from more of Floyd's garbage. He loomed in my doorway, arms crossed. Floyd, let's move. Newbies botched the culvert install again. Floyd groaned but hauled himself up. Damn idiots. Gotta do everything myself. As they left, I shot Reggie a mental high five for his timing. Too bad he couldn't save me from my date with Judge Moreno. 2 weeks later, I was fuming. What kind of bleeding heart nonsense is this? Judge Carla Moreno didn't blink as I lost it. She'd just greenlit Meredith's request for couples counseling, and when I flat out refused, she dangled jail time. I spun to Vernon. Come on, man, tell her therapy's a no-go. I just want this cheater and her preacher pals gone. Travis slouched, looking like he wanted to vanish. Leela shot me a glare that could have melted steel. If looks could kill, I'd be shaking hands with the Grim Reaper. Vernon had subpoenaed Travis and Leela as witnesses. They'd fought it, but after getting slapped with failure to appear threats, they had no choice. Their church was a ghost town now, down to a dozen clueless members, probably just waiting for the next scandal. The 20-person choir was reduced to Leela, Meredith, and some old guy named Clarence Wade, who looked 1 him away from keeling over. Then Meredith stepped up, spewing her sob story. It was just physical, she said. I scoffed. Would she buy that excuse if I'd been caught with her friend Tara? Nate works too much, and I felt ignored, she added. Bull. I worked 7 to 4, Monday through Friday. Last year, I got called out maybe 5 times. My first time with Travis was just curiosity, she admitted. I heard he was, well, above average. I rolled my eyes. Curiosity, classic cheater excuse, right up there with neglect, and it didn't mean anything. I turned her out, my mind drifting back to when I met her. Homecoming at Eastern Carolina Tech was a big deal, not for the game, but for the parties. The wildest was Mitch Carver's annual bonfire. Mitch was pushing 40, still hosting raiders for tipsy college girls. Years later, he got busted when a few accused him of assault, convicted for 2. That homecoming, Meredith's junior year, was a blast. ECT actually won. I wasn't a student, just doing city maintenance and part-time campus gigs to save for trade school. Since the team's win pushed cleanup to the next day, I got to cut loose. By 11:30 p.m., I was feeling good, the parking lot still packed, half the cars bouncing like nobody cared. Barns, fields, even sheds were probably packed with partiers getting frisky. I stepped away to relieve myself, found a truck, unzipped, and let it rip on the bumper. As I finished, headlights snapped on. A brunette's head was still in some guy's lap. She locked eyes with me. Whoops, my bad, I mumbled, zipping up and hightailing it back to the bonfire. I cracked a fresh beer when I saw her again, same brunette. I dodged around the fire, not looking to be called out as the guy who hosed her boyfriend's truck. But some campus crew guys spotted me. Nate, you legend, they yelled, slapping my back. I only knew one of them, but they acted like we were tight. As they hyped me up, I felt a hand graze my belt. The brunette. She walked off without a word. Next morning, getting ready for work, I grabbed my wallet from my jeans and felt something in the other pocket, a note. If you liked what you saw as much as I liked what you saw, call me. Meredith. A number was scrawled below. All day, cleaning up homecoming trash, I wondered if it was legit. By lunch, I caved and dialed. A woman picked up. Hello, can I speak to Meredith? I asked. She's out. Can I take a message? I paused. Yeah, just tell her the guy from the party called. Said he liked what he saw. I left my number and hung up. That night, my phone rang. I don't know your name, but I've seen your goods. Should I call you Big Rig? I froze. Had I just screwed up? I forced a laugh. Nate's fine. Meredith, right? Yeah, she said. Want to meet at Rosie's Diner in an hour? I hesitated. Was this a setup? Screw it. Sure, I said. Great, she replied. I'll be wearing, she described her outfit, down to the necklace. I sat at Rosie's, scanning the door, my Panthers cap left at home in case I needed to bolt. 20 minutes later, she walked in, exactly as described, hotter than I remembered. I waved. She spotted me, her brow twitching, then weaved through a couple guys trying to chat her up. She sat down, smirking. Nice Panthers cap you're not wearing. I shrugged, playing it cool. Didn't want a chance getting pranked. Meredith's smile grew. Scared I'd catfish you. More like I wanted an exit strategy if you didn't match the hype, I shot back. She laughed, a real one. Fair enough. We chatted over coffee and cobbler until the diner kicked us out, dated a month before things got real. That Saturday, I knew it was go time. I even called Travis, told him I was getting serious. He gave me some sermons about true love and not breaking hearts. Hilarious, considering a decade later, he'd help shatter mine. I snorted at the irony, loud enough that Meredith and Dr. Carver were both staring. You find Meredith's pain funny, Mr. Dalton? Carver asked. More like mine, I said. I owe Corey Vance an apology. Meredith's brow furrowed. She'd never messed with Corey, but she had hooked up with Derek Tatum, the guy she was with at that party 2 days after our first date. Word was Corey didn't measure up for her. Why apologize to him, she asked. I smirked. 'Cause I decked him for telling the truth. Dr. Carver leaned in. What truth was that? He called Meredith a gold digger, always chasing a bigger prize, I said. I don't follow, Carver replied. Meredith went scarlet, dead quiet, caught. She dumped Corey for being underwhelming, I went on, then saw me and ditched Derek. Now she's with Travis 'cause he's supposedly a step up. It's all shallow, stupid garbage. If you say it's just physical, I'll walk out, do my time for contempt, then move to Saudi Arabia where cheaters get what's coming. They both looked floored. Carver recovered, prim. Meredith, we must understand that outdated mindsets don't grasp multiple partners in a healthy marriage. I squinted. What the hell are you babbling about? Many happy couples embrace multiple partners, she said. Some men, knowing they fall short, find joy in sharing their spouse with a better match. My brain flatlined. I'd read about guys who sat on the sidelines while their partners got their kicks elsewhere, and they were fine with it. No amount of meds would make me okay with that crap, I snapped. I don't care what those sad sacks get off on. No way I'm watching my wife get busy, and I'd rather eat glass than deal with the aftermath. Now, Nate, Carver said, all calm, don't you owe it to your marriage to keep an open mind? Meredith piped up. No one's saying you have to watch. Then, purring, though you could, Nate. It'd be so hot, and I could take care of you after. I glared. Screw you. You think I want Travis's leftovers? What's next? You gonna say it'd be sexy if I wore a tutu while you and Travis go at it? Maybe sleep in the garage? Meredith smirked. Oh, no, Nate, we'd let you keep your bed. I shot out of my chair. I'm done. I'm out. The receptionist glanced up, ready to dial 911. Mr. Dalton, Carver said, firm, you were ordered to attend these sessions. Leave, and you'll face jail for contempt. I spun back, staring her down. I've been here an hour. Tell that robe-wearing tyrant whatever you want, I don't give a damn. It'll snow in hell before I sit near that cheater again. I pointed at Meredith. And I'm talking to my lawyer about yanking your license, you quack. I stormed out, feeling lighter than I had in months. I barged into Vernon's office. His face dropped. Tell me you didn't offend anyone, he sighed. Wish I could say yes, I muttered, but nah, just said some stuff they won't like. I spilled everything, how the session felt like a setup, how the counselor was clearly in their corner. Nate, you're not the first to complain, Vernon said. But those gripes get buried. I'd have warned you, but that's tampering. I ain't going back, I said. That pompous judge can lock me up, but I'm not sitting through 3 more hours of that. Vernon sighed. I'll get Victor Hartley to pull some strings. Stay out of trouble, Nate. We'll wrap this up soon. I downed 3 beers, needing to take the edge off. Flipping between reality TV and cage fighting, I probably looked like a real champ. By the time a baseball game came on, I was nicely buzzed. Then I heard thunder. I stepped outside, black storm clouds were swallowing downtown Raleigh, the air sharp with a bite. A nasty summer ice storm was rolling in. Sure enough, my phone rang, but it wasn't about the ice. Flooding. My crew and I spent the night hauling gravel and clearing wreckage. By 4 a.m., the creek was lapping at the levees and the Pine Street Bridge. The Army Corps swore the levee was fine, the county insisted the bridge was solid. While they bickered, we got to work. By 9 a.m. Friday, I pulled into my driveway, running on fumes. No chance of catching Meredith with Travis this time, mostly because I didn't have a wife anymore, and I didn't give a rat's ass who she was with. Fueled by coffee and Red Bull, I figured a shot of bourbon would knock me out. I chugged it and crashed on the couch. I woke to knocking, checked my phone, 10 p.m. peering outside. I saw Ellie Pritchard. What the hell did she want? I opened the door. Sorry to bug you, Nate, she said, shifting nervously, but there's something you need to see. It could help your divorce. I paused. What could she possibly have? Then I noticed her eyes, piercing blue. She said something I missed and started toward her car. Even on autopilot, I knew to follow. She got in, I slid into the passenger seat. We drove in silence. I caught myself eyeing her long, athletic legs. She noticed, her smirk widening. Ellie pulled into the lot of an old textile mill, abandoned for years. The city had snapped up these properties ages ago. Developers bid on them, but the city council always shot the deals down. No one knew why. Meanwhile, the city had blown a fortune on security, even throwing up a 12-foot barbed wire fence 2 years back. We parked, and something felt wrong, too many cars. "Ellie, why are we here? If we get caught, we're in deep crap." "Just trust me," she said, stepping out. "This'll help you." I had no clue how sneaking around would fix my divorce, but I followed. She led me to a gap in the fence, then to a basement window of the old Magnolia Inn. A faint glow leaked out, impossible, since the power had been cut years ago. I crouched, peered in, and my jaw dropped. On the ride home, Ellie handed me a video camera. She explained how she and Hank had been snooping on Travis and Meredith one night, overhearing them mention this place and deciding to tail them. I nodded. "So, choir practice is just a front, huh?" She looked sheepish. "Yeah." Silence hung heavy until she blurted, "You know, the only reason Hank and I mess around is 'cause no one else wants us." I hadn't brought up their messed up situation. "That ain't true," I said, faking confidence. "Maybe some guys would hook up with me," she mumbled, "but no one wants to be seen with me." "I hear the jokes, Nate. Butterface, hot body, ugly face." I stayed quiet. "They call me a two-bagger," she went on. "One for my head, one for the guy in case mine falls off." I felt like garbage. "Ellie, come on," I said, forcing some grit into my voice. "If I were your age, I'd be chasing you." Total lie, but she'd just handed me dynamite, and she was on the verge of tears. "You've helped me out a lot," I continued. "Let me take you to dinner tomorrow. Get all dressed up. I'll swing by at 7. She hesitated. "I'm heading to Charlotte tomorrow. Won't be back till Sunday." "No worries," I said. "Rain check?" A small smile. "Deal." I hopped out and headed inside. I had them right where I wanted. Next morning, I made some calls. By Thursday, the plan was rolling. I rang Vernon first. "This could skirt close to blackmail," he sighed, "but I think it'll work. No wonder that judge gets away with everything." Next, I called Wade Kessler, a high school buddy now working as a reporter for a local news station. I gave him the video and the full scoop. "I've heard whispers about this," he admitted. "They also meet on Wednesdays." "So, what's the move?" He grinned. "I stake out the inn and catch them live on the 6 o'clock news." "Perfect," I said. Monday morning, I strolled into the city maintenance director's office with a pitch to solve a storage issue and block access to the Magnolia Inn. He loved it. Since the city owned the land, we just needed to rezone it, no budget approval, no council meddling. As I left, he stopped me. "Nate, I'm putting you up for a promotion. You just saved us a fortune." By Wednesday, the green light came through. I was handed a 10-man crew, 3 weeks to get it done. Thursday morning, we started hauling fencing to the old textile mill. At noon, I split. I had counseling with Dr. Carver at 1. I walked in early. The receptionist shot me a dirty look before buzzing me through. Carver sat at her desk, smug as ever. "Mr. Dalton, you're early. One-on-one's a new look for you." I crossed my arms. "I'm done with this circus. Not coming back, not paying for it." She smirked. "Judge Moreno ordered these sessions. Skip out, and you're done." "Screw that," I said. "You're calling Moreno and telling her the jig's up. I know about your little swingers club at the Magnolia Inn." Her face went ashen. "I'm sure the ethics board will love hearing how a family court judge and a counselor run a damn cheater's ring, especially when all the unfaithful wives walk away winners in Moreno's court while their husbands get hosed." "There's no such," she started. "Zip it," I cut in. "I saw you. I saw them. I saw the moose head wearing a cowboy hat with condoms on its antlers." She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Wade Kessler had the footage, and he knew who'd been tanking the property deals for years. Moreno and her husband were about to lose it all. I turned at the door. "Screw you," I said, and walked out. I could just imagine what Meredith was going through right then. Picture her, dolled up in a tight skirt, no hose, hair done the way I used to like, wearing that same perfume from our last anniversary, sitting in Carver's office, waiting for me. I didn't show. Carver looked rattled, probably mumbling about a personal emergency and canceling the session. Meredith must have been gutted. She'd been banned from our old place, couldn't even step on the porch if I was home. Is Nate really risking jail to dodge this? She probably asked. Carver, flustered, would have said, "No session today, Meredith. I'll call you." She'd have shuffled out, glancing back at Carver's spooked face. With time to kill, I bet she drove to the church, hyped for their secret meetup the next day. She was probably itching to try something wild with Travis and Carla Marino's husband, thinking it'd be a night to remember. But when she got there, Travis was on the phone, fuming. That was Carla's husband, he'd have snapped, rubbing his temples. Club's off tonight. Nate knows everything. Meredith's jaw probably hit the floor. He's threatening to tip off his buddy Wade Kessler, Travis would have said, his voice ice cold. If this leaks, a lot of people will go down. Then, with a sneer, I'm starting to regret messing with you, Meredith. You're not worth this headache. I could see her freezing, stunned. Just months ago, Travis couldn't get enough of her, always saying she was better than Leela. Now, just 'cause I was fighting back, she was suddenly trash to him. That evening, after scarfing down some takeout, Vernon called. Hearing's been bumped up, he said. It's tomorrow. Why the rush? I asked. Only time I've seen a judge move this fast is when someone pulls their divorce request. Could be contempt charges, but I doubt it. Bieber would have been summoned to. Get some rest, Nate. I've got a good feeling. I hung up, wondering if Travis had leaned on some big shots to scare me off. They had connections, sure, but I wasn't backing down. I heard later from Wade Kessler, my reporter buddy, that Travis and Leela were riding high that night, thinking they'd won. Meredith, too, probably lost count of how many times she got her kicks with them, all smug, thinking I'd caved. Fat chance. By 10 a.m., I was in Judge Marino's courtroom. I didn't show, Vernon handled it, along with Victor Hartley, some legal hotshot who hadn't stepped foot in a courtroom in years. Meredith whispered to her lawyer, Floyd Tatum, asking if I'd get nailed for skipping. Nah, Floyd muttered, eyeing Victor. He's probably licking his wounds. They didn't know why Victor was there, but it spooked them. After 20 minutes of hushed talks at the bench, Floyd came back looking like he'd seen a ghost. Before Meredith could grill him, Marino's gavel cracked. In 90 days, the marriage of Nate and Meredith Dalton will be dissolved, she declared. Meredith Dalton gets no alimony. Nate Dalton will transfer 25% of his retirement and 40% of their liquid assets to her. Meredith passed out, an EMT rushing to steady her. I wasn't there, but Wade said she looked like her world imploded. Within 3 weeks, it all unraveled. Wade's expose on the Swingers Club hit the news, and Judge Moreno was yanked from the bench. Her husband got slapped with charges for running a prescription drug racket. Floyd Tatum, disbarred, was caught messing around with clients and tanking cases for Moreno, plus, he was tied to a high school drug ring. Dr. Carver had to refund her patients, then turned up dead in her condo, wrists slashed, her husband beside her with a bullet in his skull. Travis got the boot from his ministry, his severance barely covering a move. Leela, fed up with his wandering eye, divorced him after catching him spying on neighbors. He blamed Meredith for the whole mess and split without a word. Meredith and Leela shacked up in a cramped apartment, scraping by. She burned most of her settlement on utilities and a lawyer for Leela, who crushed Travis in court. Last I heard, Travis was preaching in some town in Nebraska. Meredith got a gig at a bookkeeping firm. Leela landed work with a plumber and started dating one of his crew. Meredith didn't date, she was hung up on me. Wade told me she'd walk by our old place in Raleigh, hoping to spot me. One day, she saw a sold sign out front and fell apart. That night, she drowned her sorrows in wine and ice cream. Then, at a grocery store, she saw me grabbing a frozen burger patty. Before I knew it, she was on her knees, sobbing, begging in the middle of the aisle. I don't even recall what she said, but I looked down, uncomfortable, a small crowd gawking. I smirked, pointed to my backside, and said, "Kiss it and get lost." Then I walked away. Phoenix, Arizona, 4 years later. I pulled into my driveway, eyeing the scruffy lawn. I'd tackle it Saturday at dawn before the desert heat kicked in. The door barely closed before Ellie's arms wrapped around me, her lips meeting mine. "Hey, handsome," she murmured. "Keep the tourists from rigging the card tables today?" I chuckled. "Same old grind. Next month, when you graduate, you'll be punching the clock too. At least till you get me tied down with a kid." She smirked. "Studying tonight?" "Yeah, but I gotta watch Tara around you." She can't stop eyeing your goods. I laughed. Had a neighbor like that once, always watching me mow. Ellie grinned. Meredith's loss, my gain. Damn right, I said, grabbing my keys. I'll snag some burgers. You college girls eat like wrestlers. She kissed me again as I headed out. Ellie and I had been married 3 years. I hit Phoenix 3 days after leaving Raleigh. Some folks might call me a jerk for ditching Meredith at that motel in Boise, Idaho, but I'd never trust that cheater again. She was out cold when I slipped out, paid for 3 nights, and vanished. Made it to Nevada by sunrise, Phoenix 2 days later. Within a week, I had a job and a rental. Sold my house, cashed out my retirement, and bought a new place. 2 weeks later, Ellie showed up, already enrolled at ASU. While waiting for the house sale, I hung out with her a lot. She'd drop by with food, watch flicks, hit the town on weekends. The more time we spent together, the more I liked her. Best part? I wasn't embarrassed to be seen with her. When I told her about Meredith's grocery store meltdown, she got teary. Hey, I said, taking her hands, I ain't going back to her. Ellie, I'm falling for you. If you can handle an old guy like me. Before I finished, she tackled me. That night, after a wild first round and 2 slower, deeper ones, I laid out my plan. I expected Hank and Ellie's folks to lose it. Instead, Hank nodded. Nate, you've always been a rough one, but I can't picture our girl in better hands. I froze. Ellie grinned. She'd been their sister all along, not their daughter. A year after we hit Phoenix, Ellie picked up new makeup tricks, switched up her hair. She'd always been pretty, but now she shined. We tied the knot after her freshman year. I told her, if you meet a guy your age, I'll get it. She ignored me for a week. You dumbass, she finally said, grabbing my face. I only ever wanted one guy. I watched Meredith throw you away, I'm not letting you go. I still keep tabs on folks back home. Leela married a carpenter and moved to Oregon. Meredith crawled back to Raleigh 2 years after I left her in Boise. She married a farmer. A year later, he caught her messing around with 3 of his field hands and kicked her out. Figures. The kid at the counter handed me my burgers. If I got home quick, Ellie might pounce before her study group showed up. Me? I'd retreat to my den, kick back, and catch the Diamondbacks on my streaming pass. From one messy woman to another, my life's now smoother than a fresh paved road.